Has this ever happened to you? You're filling out a job application online when the app asks you to fill out this survey that will only take about 90 seconds of your time. You click on the survey and lo and behold, it is a personality test. They ask you questions like, are you lazy? And you're very obviously supposed to say, no, not at all. I think most of us, if not all of us, know that you're supposed to choose whichever answers paint you to be the most ass-kissing drone of a worker who never needs time off, always has reliable transportation, and has unshakable morals. If I remember correctly, back in my teenhood, which was quite a while ago, they had surveys like this, and I remember them being about, I don't know, 20 questions at most. But as a decade passed and I reached my mid to late 20s, I want to say these questionnaires have been getting longer over time. I feel like the average pre-employment assessment nowadays is at minimum like 50 questions. And I think we can all agree that no one likes doing these. They always take a long time, and sometimes the questions can either feel like an insult to your intelligence or make you wonder what the hell the intent behind the question was in the first place. Okay, well, not gonna lie, I kind of like questions like these because I'm a nerd who likes pinpointing patterns. Like, obviously the answer here is the top right option because it is the only pattern here without a blacked out square in the center. Wait, what does this have to do with reception? And the worst part about it too is, like I said, it takes up a lot of your time, right? But the likelihood of your application leading to an actual job offer is not very. Nothing on you per se, just statistically, especially with the increase of fake job listings, higher hiring standards, and the modern day elongation of the interview process in general. And these are just my immediate personal gripes, you know? Don't get me started on the questionable legality of these things. However, to add insult to injury, companies have started implementing a new mascot, so that way you, the little person applying for the minimum wage job, will feel seen and properly represented as you fill out these fun pre-employment assessments. And that is where the subject of today's video comes in. Meet Ash, the AI-generated gender-ambiguous blue person who now represents you in this revamped version of personality assessments. If you have applied to work at some sort of retail, restaurant, or delivery service in the past year, you've probably come across this guy and either had a great laugh or probably felt your insides rip apart in rage. I had not experienced this guy firsthand, but of course I had Tumblr to thank for spreading awareness on this new failed corporate rollout to seem more relatable with the working class. If you have not seen these assessments before, essentially how it goes is that the survey presents you with a series of vague scenarios along with an AI-generated Ash image to help your limited pea-brained comprehension. Because corp execs know that you can't actually read, your confusion has nothing at all to do with the purposefully ambiguous ways that they have worded things. And you're supposed to choose if the scenario you see Ash go through is relatable to you or not relatable to you. You know, the same stuff that we were talking about before, where you're supposed to select the option that paints you out to be the perfect worker. However, Ash's assessment gained notoriety online with the increased ridiculousness of some of these scenarios, juxtaposed with the silliness of this strange, miraculous ladybug art-styled onward reject OC. For example, let's look at Calm in the Storm. In the center here, we have Ash, who looks very zenned out, and to the sides, we have what I can only assume are Ash's coworkers, presumably yelling at them. Now, obviously here, you're probably supposed to say me, the implied answer probably being that you know how to keep your cool during stressful situations. But you know what? These coworkers are probably yelling at Ash because they're doing nothing to prevent these important work documents from being blown away. Put a paperweight on that stack, dude. What are you doing? Don't just sit there with your eyes closed pretending that nothing bad is happening. Another example we have here is discussed philosophy. I'm gonna take a guess and assume that the most probable correct answer is to say not me. You know, it probably aligns with the general common courtesy to not talk about politics or religion or anything deep really in a real life public space. Because, you know, sometimes it's much easier to work alongside someone if you don't know that they'd rather take away your most basic human rights. But man, is this image so me. I love how in this image, Ash is clearly having such a fun time info dumping, but the coworkers beside them very obviously want them to stop talking. This is actually a photo of me me when I was 13 and my parents were begging me to stop talking about yaoi fanfiction at the family function. This guy over here, though, looks quite interested in what Ash has to say. You just know there's going to be some interesting sexual tension between them later on. This one I've seen other people laugh at a lot. Make them pay. Mostly because Ash looks so freaking pissed in this image. I don't know, it looks like both of them were driving on the sidewalk. I don't know if you have any right to ask them to pay for damages, Ash, when you're also in the wrong. Okay, this one though is my personal fave. Things happen to me. Things happen to me. What does that even mean? Things happen to everyone. What are you talking about? It's just the condition of living. Things are gonna happen to you. Like, you're most definitely supposed to choose not me, but oh my god, is this me. I cannot tell you how often things happen to me, and boy, do I wish they would stop. Yeah, so as you can see, the addition of Ash to these personality assessments don't really add anything, except for maybe more hatred towards whatever corp exec thought this would be a good idea. But who made Ash, and why? Well, Ash was created by a company called Tradeify, which was acquired in 2021 by an even bigger company called Paradox. To give you some background, Paradox is a company that essentially developed a conversational AI that essentially just helps recruiters not interact with the candidates at all. This is a good half of their commercial, by the way. Just a woman texting this AI chatbot. So engaging. The AI can schedule interviews for you, answer some select questions that the candidates may have about the job, and even send offer letters on your behalf, which sure, I understand is very convenient for the recruiter or hiring manager on their part. It's just that I find a lot of the marketing surrounding this service slash product to be funny, because yes, while it does advertise itself as a way to relieve a lot of the administrative work from the recruiter, it claims that by doing so, the recruiter can have more time doing the quote-unquote people stuff, which is interacting with the candidates, not the people stuff. It's kind of funny that the website mentions how the people stuff includes watching the candidate accept the job when we saw that the AI is the one sending the offer letters in the first place. I don't know, kind of seems like the AI is the one experiencing the joys of the people stuff, except it can't experience joy because it's AI. I mean, obviously I can't really speak too much on this because I've never worked in HR or hiring, but if the AI is handling all of the candidate stuff, what is there really left to do? Filing the I-9 form that they fill out? Going back and forth with your manager about what other requirements and like onboarding they need to go through? What is there left for you to do? Honestly, I would imagine that you'd want the AI to do more of the onboarding stuff because that shit's boring as hell. I can only imagine how much of the same repetitive information you have to give out. But you know what? That's beyond me. I know I'm talking about Paradox a lot, but one last thing I find funny about Paradox's website is that they have some customer testaments here on the side from recruiters, hiring managers, but most importantly, actual candidates. I am most curious to see what the interviewees would have to say, but oh wait, no, these are just more testimonies from recruiters and managers. Okay. But that's just Paradox. Like I said, Paradox is just a company that acquired Tradeify, the actual company that created Ash. Tradeify, formerly known as WooFound, was a company founded by Joshua Spears and Dan Sines. And you want to know what inspired them to make this company? A bad blind date. Literally, that is what was said on their website and in this interview that we will go over later. Yep, men will do anything but go to therapy. Before Tradeify invented Ash, they essentially provided these stock image additions to questionnaires that, as you can see, added a lot. Wow, thank you guys. The barefooted man on a bike really helps me understand what is meant by just for kicks. I definitely know what trait I'm being tested on by staring at this image. Now, there isn't too much information on their website, but I ended up gathering most of my information on Tradeify from this 20-minute interview with WorkTech. The second half of this interview covers the creation of Ash, but the first half of this interview does cover the company's background. Essentially, Dan and Josh explained that the mission of their company is to make work assessments faster and funner that allow people to interpret these assessment questions more easily. And let me say, oh boy, do they sure place a heavy emphasis on fun throughout the interview.
So a much more fun. I think the way we started this discussion, the word fun is an interesting part we get from our clients. Often fun, we've really found a way to make this fun and interesting. It's really because we're trying to make an experience they want to do and they'll enjoy and they get something out of.
Sirs, my God, I feel like you're gaslighting me. I assure you that most people do not find this fun. Dan also mentions that like his client, which is of course, a hiring manager, called this fun. I don't care if the hiring manager called this fun. They're not the ones taking the assessment. Again, let me hear from some actual candidates, some people that actually had to take the assessment. What is going on here? It's funny because Dan and Josh also explain that they don't really have backgrounds in assessments, but rather multimedia. And Josh really sells this by having his own custom background that would tickle the toes of any corporate boomer or Gen Xer. Like, look at all the details in his background. You got a Bitmoji, Wall-E, Bender Futurama, shitty rendition of C-3PO. Yes, clearly you have a multimedia background, Josh. You're so creative and cultured. I won't go through the entire video because a good deal of it, in my opinion, is just marketing under the guise of an interview, but it's at the halfway mark of the video that we finally get to the topic of Ash's creation. Dan and Josh amusingly said that Ash was created as a means to make the work assessments more inclusive by creating an avatar that was neutral from a gender, race, and age perspective, which okay, and so your decision was to make them a blue humanoid? What's also interesting is that one of their in-house psychologists, Heather Myers, claims that they oversampled minority groups when testing Ash's character models to ensure that the character model was more relatable across the board. Interesting. Hey, I'm probably what most of America would consider a minority. I don't think I find Ash to be that relatable. I don't know, do you guys find Ash to be relatable? Let me know in the comments. But I feel like Ash falls into the common corporate trap where when you try to appeal to everyone, you effectively appeal to no one. Apparently, I am incorrect though, because Josh then says this.
Frankly, the response has been exactly the opposite. We have clients who are asking for Ash swag and want the, a hat with Ash on it. It's almost become this Mickey Mouse-esque character where people have fallen in love with it and quickly want to put Ash on everything that they own. So
apparently his clients love Ash so much that they want Ash merch. I'm sorry, but I think you're lying. I think that's gotta be a lie. Either Josh is lying or Josh, they were lying to you. I can't think of anything more embarrassing to have on a shirt. I'd rather wear Sonic/Shadow Joe Rogan podcast shirt rather than have Ash on any piece of clothing I wear on my body. But you know what? What Dan says next is, I think, the most egregious part of this interview, because he admits that most of his clients that use his assessments are companies that host hourly jobs.
Probably our core target has been around the hourly company in general. So Tradeify really found its success in kind of restaurant, retail, hospitality, manufacturing, logistics, that world.
When he said this, I was actually reminded of a book that I'm currently reading called Weapons of Math Destruction by Cathy O'Neil. To give you some background, Cathy O'Neil is a mathematician who worked as a professor at Barnard College and then later as a quant for the hedge fund D.E. Shaw. During her time working in the finance industry, she was horrified to learn just how corporate bigwigs were using math and algorithms to increase the ever-growing wealth gap and other generally evil deeds, and proceeded to publish several books and blog posts exposing the world's misuse of data and algorithms to increase inequality. This is a huge oversimplification of her history and what she does, but you get the idea. Weapons of Math Destruction is a bit of an older book. It was released back in 2016, but its topics are still relevant today. And when Dan talked about how Tradeify mostly targets the hourly worker, I couldn't help but think of some of the inequalities Cathy pointed out in her book. The privileged, she writes, we'll see time and again, are processed more by people, the masses by machines. Because rich people, or people with connections, now those are the worthwhile people. Those are the people with good ideas and indispensable value. Poor people, well, they got nothing to offer but their labor. And if they can't do that with a smile on their face, they're useless. I'm saying this sarcastically, but unfortunately that is the ideology being promoted with the use of these work assessments for the quote-unquote unskilled, lower-paying jobs. Because, I don't think I saw anyone in middle management or higher complaining about having to take these ASH assessments. And God knows, if a CEO actually had to take one of these personality assessments, honestly, I don't think they'd hire themselves. Being a team player and having unshakable morals, well, that's the poor man's job. Being ambitious and being selfish, now that is the CEO's role. What's also interesting is that in Kathy's book, she talked about how a good amount of programs that were advertised as tools to help underprivileged people ended up being ploys to exploit them. I think a great majority of us nowadays know that for-profit universities like University of Phoenix or DeVry University are essentially scams. But back in the day when they first came into existence, that knowledge was not quite as widespread, and they advertised heavily to people of low income who were looking for less intimidating college options and could easily qualify for government loans to pay off their tuition, because that is how for-profit colleges made their profit. Even things as innocuous as resume workshops serve as potential ways for advertisers to access your contact information and bombard you with even more targeted ads. Hell, we see this anytime you sign up for a rewards program at any store. The email you sign up with becomes a free-for-all for endless email ads. It's like the unsubscribe button never works. Now, why do I bring up this particular bit? Because in an interview right after Dan says that they specifically target hourly workers, he then explains the customizability of their assessments, explaining that because they have control of the images, they can add company logos wherever they please.
Because we can control all those elements of the images, we can add subtle branding opportunities in there for businesses as well. So that's something we've never had before in assessment, but a way to just kind of put their own colors or their logos or some of their things in very subtle placements that make it unique to them.
And that part absolutely pisses me off. So not only do I have to waste my time taking this bogus assessment for a job I statistically probably will not get, but you're also going to advertise to me while I do it? And that, folks, is why I hate AAash to their core. They are yet just another disingenuous corporate ploy to be more hashtag relatable to the working class, when in reality they are still treating us like brain-dead consumers whose only purpose is to be productive to their cause and to buy their slop. Anyway, would recommend this book, by the way. I found mine at my local library, and it is a very fun morning read with maybe a little mimosa on the side. But yeah, has this guy plagued your job search at any point in your life? Despite what I think, do you actually find this new addition to the job application to be helpful? Or are you a hiring manager who doesn't mind letting me know if this assessment is actually effective or ineffective? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, folks, that is all I have energy for today. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Fun is often fun, and